Warriors, welcome back to Gods of Alliance. If you're here, it means you want power, knowledge, and control over the battlefield. This is not luck. This is strategy. Let's break the game together. Some heroes win because they hit harder than everyone else. Others survive longer than anyone expects. But then, there are heroes like Lian. Heroes that don't need overwhelming damage to completely change the outcome of a battle. One perfectly timed charm, one interrupted ultimate, one enemy carry suddenly unable to fight, and an entire strategy falls apart. That's exactly why, even after all the new heroes released over the years, Lian continues to appear in arena defenses and battlefield teams across Dominion. She doesn't overpower opponents. She outplays them. And today we're breaking down absolutely everything you need to know about her abilities, her new relics, the best way to build her, the talismans I recommend, and finally, several battles that perfectly demonstrate why Lian remains one of the most frustrating control heroes in Hero Wars Alliance. Enchantment. This is the moment every aggressive player fears. Your opponent has finally built enough energy. Their strongest heroes are ready to unleash devastating ultimates. Everything looks perfect. Until Lian simply says, no. With a single activation, she charms the entire enemy team, putting them to sleep and immediately stopping their momentum. But here's what makes this ability truly unique. Unlike almost every other sleep mechanic in the game, Lian's own attacks don't wake sleeping enemies. That single mechanic allows her to continue applying pressure while your entire team decides exactly how the fight should unfold. It's simple, it's elegant, and even today, it's one of the strongest forms of battlefield control available. Now, if you thought Lian only existed to disable enemies, think again. Hypnotic Ball gives her another important tool. She launches a magical sphere straight into the front line, bouncing across nearby enemies and dealing pure damage multiple times. Pure damage completely ignores both armor and magic defense. So whether you're facing a heavily armored tank or a high-resistance front line, the damage still goes through. It isn't designed to instantly eliminate someone. Instead, it constantly chips away at the enemy while her control abilities keep everyone under pressure. Little by little, the battlefield starts shifting in your favor. And then we have Wandering Lights. This ability often gets overlooked because it looks relatively simple. But don't underestimate it. Lian summons several magical lights that automatically seek nearby enemies. Each one deals magic damage. Each one adds more pressure. And together, they slowly wear down the opposing team throughout the fight. This ability becomes even more interesting later once we start talking about relics, because that's where Wandering Lights evolves into something much more dangerous. We'll come back to that in just a moment. Finally, we arrive at the passive ability that makes Lian so incredibly annoying to fight against. Conciliation. Imagine your opponent decides, I'm going to eliminate Lian first. Sounds like a good plan, except every time an enemy directly attacks her, they immediately become charmed themselves. Instead of continuing their assault, they suddenly stop fighting altogether. Aggressive heroes that depend on constant attacks can completely lose their rhythm because of this passive alone. It's one of those abilities that doesn't always appear spectacular, but during real battles, it wins games. Sometimes simply existing on the battlefield is enough for Lian to completely discourage certain attackers. And that's exactly what great control heroes do. They force mistakes without even dealing massive damage. Now, if Lian already feels frustrating with her base abilities, this is where things become really interesting. Because relics don't simply make her stronger, they expand everything she already does so well. Let's start with her very first relic, Enthrall. Every 14 seconds, Lian automatically affects the central enemy, together with nearby targets. Enemies already under charm immediately receive additional pure damage. Everyone else simply falls asleep. Think about that for a second. Your opponent no longer has to worry only about her ultimate. Control keeps returning throughout the entire battle automatically, the longer the fight lasts. the more opportunities Lian has to completely interrupt enemy momentum. And that's incredibly valuable in long arena battles. Now comes the upgrade I'm personally most excited about unlocking, the Enchantment Relic. At Legendary Relic level 10, her ultimate becomes even more oppressive. Normally, sleep disappears as soon as enemies take damage. But after unlocking this relic, there's now a 50% chance they simply stay asleep. Imagine launching your entire team's damage, expecting everyone to wake up, and they don't. That single improvement dramatically increases the consistency of Lian's control. I still haven't unlocked this relic myself, but honestly, I think this one alone can completely change how reliable she becomes in high-level battles. Then we move to Wandering Lights. And this upgrade is absolutely fantastic. Instead of dealing magic damage, the floating lights now deal pure damage. That means every projectile completely ignores defensive stats. Armor doesn't matter. Magic defense? Also irrelevant. Everything simply takes damage. Against durable frontline heroes, this upgrade becomes incredibly valuable. It's another relic I still need to unlock, but looking purely at its mechanics, it's clear how much stronger it makes her overall contribution during longer fights. Finally, we reach Heartbreak, the final relic. And this one rewards everything Lian has been doing since the battle started. Whenever charmed enemies receive attacks, Lian immediately follows up with additional pure damage. Every successful charm now becomes another offensive opportunity. Every interruption now comes with punishment. It's the perfect conclusion to her relic progression. Instead of simply controlling the battlefield, she begins actively converting that control into additional damage. And that's exactly why I keep saying, I genuinely believe the 3 relics I still don't own can significantly change Lian's role once fully unlocked. More reliable control, more consistent disruption, more unavoidable damage. Simply, more Lian. If there's one mistake I see players making over and over again with Lian, it's investing in the wrong places first. She's a hero that scales incredibly well, but only if you build the foundations correctly. So here's exactly how I would do it. The very first skin I'd prioritize is Intelligence. And honestly, there really isn't much debate here. Everything Lian does starts with this single stat. More intelligence means stronger abilities, more magic attack, better scaling, and overall better performance across her entire kit. You're not improving one skill, you're improving the hero as a whole. That's why this should always be your starting point. Once that's done, it's time to focus on magic attack. This is where Lian begins feeling noticeably stronger in battle. Every offensive ability becomes more threatening. Every relic that scales with her damage becomes more effective. Even though control is still her primary role, having stronger magic attack means every opportunity she creates becomes even more rewarding for your team. After those two, I'd move straight into health. Remember, a defeated control hero controls absolutely nothing. The longer Lian survives, the more ultimates she casts, the more passive activations she triggers, the more relics come into play. Keeping her alive isn't just about survivability. It's about giving her enough time to completely dictate the rhythm of the battle. Now we arrive at one of my favorite skins, Magic Reflection. This one is surprisingly valuable. Many of today's strongest arena compositions rely heavily on magic damage. Being able to reflect part of that damage back at your opponent already makes this skin interesting. But what makes it even better is the fact that it also has a Skin Plus version. That means double the long-term value once fully upgraded. It's definitely one of the investments I'm looking forward to the most. Next comes Crushing. Now, this won't be essential for every single team, but depending on your composition and the heroes surrounding Lian, it can become a very useful secondary stat. It's not something I'd rush immediately, but it's certainly worth investing in later. After that, Armor. Simple. More armor means better physical survivability, and surviving longer means more control. Finally, Magic Defense. Useful? Absolutely. Urgent? Not really, compared to every skin we've already discussed. This one simply provides the smallest overall impact. So yes, upgrade it eventually. Just don't make it your priority. And one important thing I'd like to mention, my own Lian is still far from finished. Most of these skins are still at relatively low levels, but this is exactly the order I'll be following as I continue developing her. Now let's continue with artifacts. And once again, the first choice feels incredibly obvious. The Ring of Intelligence. Exactly like her first skin, this artifact improves everything. Better scaling, better control, better damage, better overall performance. It's the foundation of the entire build. Second comes the Tome of Arcane Knowledge. I really like this combination. Magic attack increases the effectiveness of every offensive ability. Health keeps Lian alive long enough to actually use them. Offense and survivability working together. It's exactly what a control hero wants. Finally, the Idol of Charm, her weapon artifact. Whenever Lian activates her ultimate, the entire team receives additional magic attack. That's fantastic support for magic-based compositions. Personally though, I'd rather maximize her own consistency first before heavily investing in the weapon. That's why I leave it for last. Moving on to glyphs. My advice is actually very simple. Eventually, take all of them as high as possible. If resources are limited, start with intelligence, then magic attack. After that, health, armor, and finally, magic defense. That order gives you exactly what Lian needs most during every stage of progression. Next, Spark of Power. Well, I think you already know what I'm going to say. Max it. As always, extra intelligence benefits absolutely everything Lian does, so there's really no reason not to. Now, let's finish the build with talismans. Personally, I love having both available. The first one, the Talisman of Charm, is clearly the aggressive option. Intelligence, combined with magic attack, is exactly what Lian wants when your goal is maximizing control while also increasing her offensive pressure. Everything scales better. Everything becomes stronger. It's my favorite choice whenever I'm looking to dominate the battlefield. Then we have the Talisman of Cuteness. Completely different philosophy. Instead of increasing damage, this one focuses on armor and health. It turns Lian into a much more durable control hero. Harder to eliminate, harder to pressure, much more consistent during long battles. So which one is better? Honestly, neither. They simply answer different situations. Against certain opponents, I'd absolutely choose the offensive version. Against others, I'd happily sacrifice a little damage for much better survivability. Having both gives you the flexibility to adapt, and that's exactly what good players do. Now, enough theory. Let's watch Lian in action. Our first battle features Electra, Goose, Iris, Lian, and Aiden. This is a fantastic example of how control doesn't need to deal the highest damage to completely influence a fight. Notice how every time the enemy starts building momentum, Lian interrupts it. That gives Iris more time to spread pressure. Electra continues punishing the enemy backline. Goose keeps everyone healthy. Aiden stabilizes the team whenever necessary. The result isn't explosive. It's controlled, methodical. Every second that passes, this team becomes stronger while the opponent slowly loses control of the battle. Our second lineup brings Berna, Soleil, Iris, Polaris, and Lian. This composition feels much more aggressive. Lian constantly creates opportunities. Berna immediately capitalizes on them. Soleil adds another layer of pressure. Polaris supports the entire formation, while Iris continues doing what Iris does best, punishing every mistake. Next, we have Berna, Somna, Folio, Polaris, and Lian. Personally, I love this team. Why? Because your opponent never feels comfortable. One moment they're dealing with Lian's charm. The next, Somna takes over. Then Folio starts applying pressure. Polaris keeps everything flowing. Control constantly overlaps. The enemy rarely gets the opportunity to execute their own strategy. And that's exactly the kind of composition Lian loves. Now let's look at Electra, Astaroth, Tempest, Folio, and Lian. This team is incredibly balanced. Astaroth gives everyone the time they need. Tempest manipulates the pace of the battle. Lian removes enemy momentum. Electra keeps applying pressure. Folio finishes the job. No single hero tries to carry the entire fight. Instead, everyone contributes. Everyone supports the next mechanic. And together, the composition becomes far stronger than the individual heroes themselves. Finally, Electra, Kayla, Soleil, Iris, and Lian. This one plays much faster. Kayla immediately threatens the front line. Electra continues forcing pressure. Iris punishes weakened enemies. Soleil keeps the offensive momentum alive. Meanwhile, Lian quietly does what she has done throughout the entire video. I also want to remind you that my own Lian is still a work in progress. The last 3 relics are still locked. My skins still have a long way to go. My glyphs are only halfway there. Yet despite all that, she's already proving to be an incredibly stable and reliable control hero. And honestly, I can only imagine how much stronger she'll become once every upgrade is completed. So if you're considering building Lian, I genuinely think she's worth the investment. Build her patiently. Choose the right talisman for the right battle. Keep improving those relics, and you'll have a hero capable of controlling battles in a way very few others can. Warriors, this is how we play the game. Not randomly, not blindly, with knowledge, with precision, with control. We don't build randomly. We build with intention. Master the mechanics. Control the fight. Let's break the game together.